I was wrong, which I'm okay with admitting. Then again, I guess if I was wrong, you were wrong. But
How does that? Okay, that
Justin
doesn't make
Trudeau,
sense.
Justin Trudeau actually has herpes. No, he has COVID. He has COVID-19. And I don't know. So he took the test and it said that it was negative. But then he's like, I've been exposed. I'm just gonna lay low for a bit. I guess he tested again, and then it turned out to be positive. And he's like, see, all you people out there, I thought I was ducking and dodging this smoke that you apparently have for me. No, I was sick.
Right.
Right. So, or not sick. He said he's doing fine, but I have COVID. Now, JT, not Timberlake, also said he was going to be addressing any questions via conference. Right. So is he really I thought he was ducking the smoke. I mean, it's one thing to be aggressive and to be okay with button heads via a Zoom call. It's another thing when it's in person, PM or not. What are your thoughts on this? Because how I'm looking at this, he has COVID. He has it. He's saying, hey, let's do the Zoom call. We're still talking. Where you land here? Because to me, I don't feel like he's ducking all the smoke at this point.
I mean, I don't know what else to add to this, man. I already spoke to this. Um, it doesn't matter whether or not he had COVID or he didn't have COVID. To me, he already said that he was going to be isolating for whatever, how many days that he was going to be gone. And it was conveniently around a time when I feel like the prime minister should have stepped up and made a statement. You've been making statements this whole time about people being vaccinated, whether they're vaccinated or unvaccinated. You have an opinion about them. You've made multiple statements about that. And when it came to a time where somebody finally fought back, or somebody finally rebelled against what you were saying, your decision was to run. And this is somebody who was voted into a place of power. You're a public servant. I get that he is the prime minister of the country, but as far as the rules and all how all the laws work, as far as what I know, he's a public servant. He's supposed to be serving the public, and his way of serving them was by disappearing. So honestly, him having COVID, him not having COVID, them showing a test that says that whoever took that test has COVID is great, fantastic. I don't know how you're gonna sit here and expect me to believe anything that comes out of that side anymore after all we've already been through and all we've already discussed.
So wait a
I
second.
was hoping you had a different angle to go with
So wait a second.
on this
Just
one, to
just
be
just
honest with you. I
just
was
just
really
just
hoping.
just for clarity, you don't think that he has COVID.
I don't
You think
care. It
you
doesn't
think
change
somebody
anything.
else took the test.
I don't care if he
But
has COVID
that's
or
what
not.
I know, but that's what you just
No,
insinuated.
but what that's if you want to take everything that I just said and minimize it to that last point that I made, that's fine. I was trying to be sarcastic with what
I'm
I'm
just
saying.
asking a question.
I was very clear in the fact that I don't care whether or not he has COVID. He chose to disappear at a time when the prime minister should be making statements and stand up for the things that he's been talking about this entire time.
So let's just say, for
Triple,
example,
triple
right?
dosed, triple dosed. I
Let's
have
just say
COVID, prime minister.
let's just say, for example, that he stands 10 toes down on, hey, vaccine mandate for the truckers, which I disagree with, but devil's advocate here. What should he say?
What do you mean? What should he say?
What should he say?
What
Well,
do you mean?
because
What should he say?
what I'm saying, and I guess what we're saying is that he called in sick to avoid facing all the blowback from the trucker mandate. So my
Right.
question to you, because again, he's ducking and dodging the smoke. So let's just say he didn't do that. Let's just say
Right.
he didn't have COVID. He showed up and he took all the questions, right? But he stood 10 toes down. Truckers, get your ass vaccinated, period. What should he say? Should he just come out and say that? As a politician, how else do you play this hand?
Well, you start off by justifying why you're making it a mandate for truckers. How about we start with that? Since you want to ask stupid questions, I'll give you a dumb answer. How we could start off with that. You can let
Well,
truckers know
naturally,
why.
sorry, I asked you a question. Go ahead.
So we can start off by justifying why you decided all of a sudden to target the trucking industry, and we understand that it's a supply chain thing. That's cool. We understand that. I get it, 100%. Second of all, this is you are voted into a place of power, as I said before already, for these moments. These are the moments where you're supposed to, if you have a stance on something, and this is somebody finally rebelling against it, and you choose instead to show that you are going to run away instead of making some kind of statement, whether you agree or against, because all he said about this convoy so far is that in his mind, it's the opinion of the minority. Well, you know what? It actually happened. And I guess it doesn't look like it's in a minority who agrees with it. Looks like what you said on top of that podium was wrong. So now somebody's going to approach him and be like, do you still feel like it's a there's obviously going to be questions that reporters have that he needs to answer to justify all, not just this, but all of the mandates and some of the other regulation that people don't agree with.
Let's stay on the trucker vaccine mandate. So now obviously I'm open to being wrong. I'm man enough to admit that. Question for you as a PM, the leader, right? Does the leader have room to admit when he's wrong? Could the leader field one of these questions and answer the question? So can they just ask him directly, how can you explain this? Could Justin Trudeau get up in front of millions of people or through a Zoom call, whatever, and say, hey, you know what? After consulting with the medical scientists and the this and the that, some new analysis, and we were actually wrong. We're pulling back from this. Can he do that with if he does that, does he look weak? Does it open up now? Okay, well, what about this mandate? You understand what I'm saying? Like, can he actually admit that he was wrong?
It's exactly like the other day where you were forced to take a stance because of something that you said before. I believe I mentioned it in the video. I'm not sure exactly. I don't remember exactly what we're talking about, but you made a stance before, and there's no way you could have made a different stance in the next video because it would have totally contradicted what you said literally the day before. That's where Justin Trudeau is at right now. He's made so many stances on one side of the story and has never shown to be open or at least willing to understand the reasons that some people may have to be on the other side that he's on. He's never shown that openness. So now that he's forced himself into a little pocket, this is why it's fight or flee. It's fight or flee. And he chose to flee because there's really, you can't come out now.
But what's the fight?
Even though a lot of the things that you were saying, even though a lot of things that he was saying have now been proven to either be not true or not exactly the way that you saw it.
What is the fight? You said fight or flee. He obviously fled. But so what's the fight option?
Because if he goes against the things that he said before, he's going to have a fight within all the people that are like, bro,
this is what I'm talking about. So he's kind of like damned if he does.
It would be a combative.
Yeah, but
that's your job, bro. You put yourself in that position. That's your job. We don't care about your personal feelings. We want the straight up facts. So if you're wrong and it's factual that you're wrong and something came up, you need to come out and say that.
So when you say we, you're obviously referring to the public. And I hope to God that the majority of the public know and understand that you can't listen to what a politician is saying and take it as the truth, period, point blank.
Wow.
So
this is what this guy has really just said. Okay, go ahead, man.
Yeah. So when you say that Justin Trudeau should just come out and just say the truth, say what it is, how would that work? How would it work? Because nobody.
Well, mister, I don't trust what politicians have to say, but I'll trust whatever the politician mandated doctors tell me because they're doctors. They're not politicians at that point. They're doctors. So I'm going to trust what the doctors say. But I don't trust the politicians who hired these doctors to say these things. I'm not going to trust them because that makes perfect sense. In what world? I don't get where your thinking is sometimes when you say things. It's very confusing to me.
What are you talking about?
Because
stop for a second. I'm literally asking you a question about the PM coming out and taking a stance versus admitting that he was wrong. And obviously, if he admits that he was wrong, people are going to be like, oh, well, we can't trust you. When Justin Trudeau comes out and he says things or makes decisions that are unpopular, and people are like, why are you making those decisions? Logic says that doesn't make sense. And if you're going against logic, regardless of whether or not you're consulting scientists, etc., how could we trust that information? Which goes again back to my point, damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. Sometimes I believe that we need literally subtitles for you to understand what I'm saying, because it just just like the COVID virus, if the truckers are driving with their windows open because it's airborne, right? It
Right.
goes over people's
Right.
heads. This is what I believe happens to you.
Yeah. That's something that's consistent in the comment section that
Nah,
I don't understand what's going on. That's something
at
consistent that they
all.
say about me. That they
At
say about me.
all.
Yeah, all the time they say
At
that about me.
all. Yes. Yes. In fact,
Uh,
in actuality, nobody even comments about that. I have no idea what you're talking about. Nobody ever comments about this ever. Period.
about this situation, like the Trudeau thing,
No. About the lack of understanding on one side or the other. Nobody ever talks about that. Nobody ever says that guy doesn't know what you're talking. Nobody ever says this.
there's some comments
There's none.
I don't get
Ever.
where the hell you're coming from. This guy's an imbecile. I'm pretty
There's
sure they said that.
none. There's none.
Okay,
There's
that's fine.
zero.
That's fine. We'll ignore it. We'll pretend like they don't exist. It doesn't matter anyways.
They
The
don't
thing about it
exist.
is the point that I'm making and the point that I'm trying to get across is very simple. I could care less about the damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you were so adamant about passing along your agenda when it was one side of the thing, you should be just as confident to come up and say, listen, this is what it is. Just like the virus evolves, just like all the situation evolves. Situations evolve and change. Sometimes you come out and you might say something, it might change here and there. But you should be a man and come out and be willing to face whatever questions, because I don't have all the questions, but there are people that have questions for the prime minister. That's why there's a protest happening. That's usually why people protest. They need answers.
Look, viewing public, he could come out and he could say, I effed up. My bad. Obviously, a lot more eloquently than that. Some facts behind it, some science behind it, right? People are still going to be pissed. Period. The only thing that he could walk away from in the long run, I'm talking about when history writes his story, and if he, of course, continues to do this, is they could eventually say he was honest. That's it. People respect honesty, whether or not you're for it or not. They can be like, well, at least he didn't lie. You know what I mean? So, do I think he's going to do that? Of course not. He's a politician. It's not going to happen. But from the last I seen with this, they're not letting up. They're still inconveniencing the Ottawa men. The Ottawa they are not letting up even a little bit. So I'm curious to see where this is going to go. Because again, if they pull this off and they get them to reverse this thing, well, what do you think is going to happen with any other mandate? They're just going to be like, all right, we could just do the same thing. Right. And then what happens? Does the power shift back into the people's hands, where it should really be in the first place? But then that's the whole point of a government. Your government's got to make decisions for you. But if you can prevent the government from making a decision just by striking and protesting and disrupting well, then what's the point of the government then? So the slope is slippery. It is.
I'm not even going to respond to that because that's a whole different conversation. I'll just leave that to people in the comment section to answer what you just said.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, man.
Leave it in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, I'm putting it out there. Who missed the point? Did I miss the point? Did he miss the point? Who missed the point?